Wednesday will be the first game with the full starting lineup. I'll be interested to see, does Tice rejoin the starting unit there? It's been a couple weeks of him rolling now.
So that is interesting. And again, I hate to go negative after a win, but you got to just look at it now. You've got Tice playing clearly better than Thompson.
And Rob, for that matter. And, Rob's still recovering. But even before that, I still think what he's doing right now is better than what Rob.
I'm a little bummed about what happened to Rob.
It's too bad. It is.
Because he's playing with such energy and with such a spark. And I just think I'm not going to go there fully yet. But I do think this dilemma, this three big shuffle here. I know if we're counting Grant.
They still want him involved. They're not putting him away.
This three big shuffle is just taking away from Rob's development. And again, you're talking about what you want to see. You want to see Rob Williams based off of his athletic profile and the energy that he brings and the rim running and the roll gravity and all of that stuff we talked about, and just the way he was playing with Tatum, and just the metrics when he was on the floor and just how well the team was playing. You want to see them utilize those minutes. I hate seeing him going down to 8 and 9 minutes, because now you're rotating in all three of these guys and then Grant as well. But right now, Thompson is just, they went back to double big tonight because Kemba was out. And so you started Tatum, Brown, Tatum, Brown, Smart, and then the two bigs. Didn't play a lot in the second half. Again, 0 field goal attempts even. And I get it. We don't want him shooting a lot, but I don't know. He's not contesting a lot of shots on defense. He's grabbing boards, and that's about it at this point. So I just don't know. I don't know the true value there. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, this game is tough, though. Jason Tatum coming back, I think that the team knew it was important to obviously get him going. And then when the rest of the guys, they all scored double figures before halftime. Where do you really, unless you're that guy that's going to be, force the issue, give me the ball right now, which we know Thompson is.
I'm not saying force the issue. It's just, what is he there for? Is he doing enough to justify Is he doing enough to justify his minutes is all I'm asking.
I think the rebounding aspect, yeah, defensive, he's had a couple of impressive performances on the defensive end, but just not of late, nothing that really, no shutdown performance that really stood out of late. So,
Myles Turner has entered the chat.
Oh, wow. That's how far we're going to do that now? All right. That's a compelling case for the apology count. I've been thinking about it a lot, and not from Thompson's perspective, but Turner has done the thing this year. He's cashing in on opportunity, his potential, his physical prowess, defensive rate. He's going to be an all-defensive first-team player if it keeps going the way it has to start this year for him. Now, would that have panned out the exact same way here with the personnel here? It's always tough to translate that. I think you could potentially say that it would have, but I'm not done with Thompson yet. So I have a piece coming on him tomorrow in Celtics blog. It's brutal when you look at the defensive numbers, the matchups he's been in so far. We talked about Embiid. The final number on that series was 13 for 15 that Embiid shot against him. 40 points in that series off of Embiid versus Thompson.
He's there, but he doesn't do anything on defense right now.
And so I don't care if he averages 0 points per game. He's got to provide some switching, pick and roll, disruptive defense. That's what he did in Cleveland that made me want him so badly here. He had more size, different bigs around him, maybe a different kind of rotation where it was more, multiple bigs as they've tried to do with him here than wings and one single big where he's the center of everything at the defensive spot there. But it looks more physical than anything right now. Like, he gets into a guy, but he can't really get up and contest. He's plodding. He's more ground bound right now. We've talked about him not finishing his putbacks. He's 5 for 10 on putbacks this year coming into the night. I'm not loving what I see. Brad obviously isn't either. Brad said at some point we got to go with who's playing best, and that's obviously Tice and Rob, who have been ahead of him. It's not great so far, but there's a long season. All I'll say is he's a guy who's won a championship, who's on some coasting Cavaliers teams.
Yeah,
and as he's coming back,
he won a couple championships.
John, yeah, I was gonna say, explain that face you just made. What do you mean by that?
I'm just saying.
I hate that rationale.
I'm just saying he's probably not a guy who thinks the first 10 games of the year do or die here. He's probably running back into shape a little bit after a long off season, the injury. I'm going to hold out on this for a half a season, and we'll see where he is around the All-Star break.
It's a 60-game season.
Yeah, 72.
Oh, 72-game season. We've played what? What are they now? 10 and 6, 16?
I think this is the 15th tonight.
We're at the 20% mark. We're getting there.
Yeah, so if he starts impacting the game by playoff time, that's all that matters, because we're talking about points, we're talking about defense, which is a little bit needed right now, but they're getting production from other guys. So if they can just work him along slowly and get him to the spot where he needs to be, where he can help by the end of the year, I'm holding out hope on him. I think he's been great in the locker room. I think he's been a mentor for Rob.
Do they even have a locker room?
That's true.
Or do they all just walk out in their clothes?
That's a great analysis of a cliche right there.
Is there even a locker room to be great in?
Oh, he's great on the practice floor when they all get out there.
Yeah.
Skype everyone. That's the new style now.
Again, it's so hard. Right. This is what it comes down to, John. Was it worth paying double the price for a guy who is better defensively and better offensively?
Yes.
Right now, it's probably looking like yes.
How old is that dude, though?
Here's the point. The point is this. Money doesn't matter if you're getting something out of it. So it doesn't matter what you pay somebody if you're getting something. So there is no value in Tristan Thompson making only $10 million if you're not getting anything out of him.
Rebounding
but I'm saying is, I'm just if rebounding is all it was, then you had Enes Kanter here, who was just as good a rebounder.
But the defense was way worse.
That, but Thompson's playing horrible on the defensive end. So as I said, I made the comparison earlier that he's basically, he's defensive Kanter. But he's not even. He really only rebounds. That's really all he does.
He's a little better defensively than Kanter, no?
It's been by much.
But
in fact, the numbers are worse.
Kanter's offense is miles better than Thompson's defense, and right now Thompson's defense is better than Kanter's was for sure, because Kanter's is terrible, but not so much so to make up that offensive difference. Kanter at least gave you offense plus the offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding, so you were getting positive things out of him. Right now, out of Thompson, you're only getting boards.
That's the truth. That's the truth right now. I think by playoff time, there's a potential that could change.
I hope so, man, because, it's a better team if he's able to do more, for sure. But otherwise, you're back to kind of Tice playing the majority of the minutes. And if that's the case, all I'm saying is, if that's all he is, fine, so be it. There's a place for guys like that on the team, and sometimes you need it. You're getting beat up, but as I said before the season, I'm not playing the "I told you so" game. I think his role is going to be kind of matchup specific. There's going to be games where you need what he can bring, but he's just going to be a rotational big. He's not going to be your lockdown 25 to 30 minute a night anchor there. And at this point, I really just don't want to see Rob's minutes diminish anymore than they already are. I want to see him playing more minutes, more than 9 minutes a night.
I'm with you on that, John, because obviously I can't help but think about the big man in Miami, the big guy in Philadelphia who's having an MVP-like season. I know it's still early, but he's certainly mentioned up there with Jokic. I just think what happened in Game 6 against Miami, if someone is there to contain Bam Adebayo, maybe they force a Game 7, and who knows?
He did play well in that game. That's a good point.
I think that was the humongous difference. Obviously that, or you can point to the very first game and say, heck, if he doesn't get that block on Tatum, who knows what could have happened in that series. Now, who's to say the Celtics will get that kind of opportunity again? We don't know, because we're not exactly sure what this team will look like come postseason. But I can't help but, to John's point, I can't help but think about those two matchups in particular and think, man, I don't love the Celtics' chances with containing those two guys. Maybe someone like Rob can not slow them down, but just touch them up a bit, disrupt them, make sure that those guys don't have that sort of performance in a series clinching game like we saw Bam Adebayo do the Celtics.
Yeah. That's where we're at with it.
It all depends on matchups too. And if you're talking about you want Rob to have more opportunity, well, that wouldn't have happened with Turner in here either. You would have been another guy blocking Rob in his minutes and his development, and at a much higher price. Essentially, you're done with Rob at that point, I would say, if you're making that kind of cash commitment to a center. And I don't want to play the task game because I think you're right about that, John. Like, if you can add a piece who moves the needle, especially on the defensive end where they need it, I think you pay for that. And we got into this whole TPE thing. That's probably going to move them into the tax anyway. So I don't think that's a valid excuse for not picking up Turner. If they didn't like his fit, if they didn't see a projection for him to continue to grow, if they think he is what he is ultimately at this point, I feel good about that. The plus to Thompson signing is that it's shorter term, cheaper money. There's a willingness probably and a better ability to swallow him going to the bench as we could possibly see happen the way he's playing right now, and just be a mentor, locker room in a normal world guy and mentoring Rob along and getting him pushed to the level he needs to be at. There's probably a chance that Thompson's presence and the pressure that put on Rob could have inspired the better play that we saw out of Rob to start this year. So you got to think about that as an effect of this as well. Yeah. I mean, this brings them back to that spot where they can mix and change guys. If you brought in Turner here, you'd have to move on from Tice, I would think, more than you do right now, and dedicate more minutes, more time, and more money, of course, to Turner as a singular talent at that center spot. And maybe it would have been worth it. Like, I'm not dying on this hill. At some point, I'm going to do the apology cam if it's warranted. But we're 15 games in. I'm going to be patient with Thompson, and I still see some things, some positives here out of him.
I know the Celtics are the exact thing you're thinking, because I think that was exactly what went into this signing. I mean, it was in their mind, obviously money was part of it, but also
they don't think the center's worth $20 million.
Well, yeah, but the veteran leadership. I mean, there's a high price for that for this Celtics organization, obviously, because they're looking for guys like that to add to their locker room. Now, someone like Myles Turner, obviously he's a bit younger. I see that as upside, but maybe the Celtics see that as maybe if things don't go his way, he's gonna, get his team, or we won't have his full commitment. Whereas someone like Tristan Thompson has been itching for an opportunity to get back to the finals. He's been in Cleveland. He hasn't been able to play on a really competitive team. They knew that he would be thrilled to come and join the Celtics, and the enthusiasm will be over the top in contrast to Thompson, to Myles Turner, who may be thinking to himself, all right, we'll see how this fits. And after a year, think, you know what, I want to be more of a featured player, and I don't want to be on this team anymore. So maybe there's a lot more security with the Thompson signing.
I think there's something to him being 10 years in, having won a championship, having gone to the finals every year too, and just isn't all that worried about not being at his best 15 games in. So if he can get closer to that point by playoff time, and John, you've said this too, he was in a bigger role in Cleveland last year. It was a bad team. He was shooting a lot. He was playing 30 minutes. So I don't think he's going to get back to that level of production, certainly. But closer.
I just thought the stats were slightly inflated as a result. Statistically, he had a better year. But again, I as I was saying before, I really think people were imagining the Thompson that existed 3-4 years ago, and I just don't think physically he's the same guy.
Could be true. Could be true. We'll see.
They're looking at stats. They're looking at his physicality, his everything that you don't see in the box score. I think that had a lot more to do with this signing.
You want him to look how you expect, and he hasn't.